Hey though, it's Benjamin D'Souza here, back with another vid. This is some pseudo anthropology work, and I'm sitting back reflecting on the differences in culture as it pertains to my mother's side and my father's side of the family. If you're familiar with my commentary, you would know that my mother is from the mid-south region along the Mississippi River. We are the Mississippians, if you know what I'm talking about. And my father is from a Caribbean country in South America, most notably Guyana. And what I got to reflecting on is the cultural dynamic between the interactions of male and female in both cultures. And I'm going to use this as a prime example. My father passed last in the spring of 2017. He passed. And, we all know that when people pass, there's very emotions that, comes to the surface. And there was some dynamics between I myself being a male or a man and some of my female relatives, notably my aunties. And I experienced this dynamic back in '99 when my grandmother was killed in a car accident. And I compare that experience with my female relatives in that time with the experience that I've had with the female relatives in this more recent time with the passing of my father. Now, in the Caribbean culture, the women will push back. They will push back. You know, if there's a disagreement or, if y'all are juxtaposed to each other on a certain topic, the women will push back. They're not walkover. You can't just walk over them. So for you brothers out there that's like, oh man, I'm going to South America, man. I'm about to get me one of these bitches, man, and they're gonna be a doormat. Nah, it's not cracking like that. You're not gonna be able to just walk over them. They will push back. But the thing is they recognize they have the discernment to discern the proverbial line in the sand, and they know when they're coming up on it. They come up to that line and they like, I'm coming too close to this line. I'm not gonna cross it, but I'm gonna let you know, hey, I'm on this line. I'm about to cross it. I'm not gonna cross it, but I could cross it. And as I reflect on the behaviors of the men in my family on my father's side, and more so my father, is that when the women come up to that line and they give you a little pushback, how the men would reciprocate in their actions and in their verbiage, to give subtle cues to the woman to let her know, hey, I acknowledge your point of view. You're coming up on this line. You're upset about something. You're letting me know that you're upset by approaching this line. But you're also letting me know that you're not going to cross this line. So I'm going to reciprocate that gesture of respect and, tone myself down. And I'm not going to cross that line. You know what I mean? So there's there's a trade-off going on right there. It's a negotiation, you know, with nonverbal cues and verbal cues, so each party knows where they stand, so that we can come to a sound solution to said problem that's at hand. Now, I compare that to the manner in which my mother's side of the family operates. Now, just to digress for a minute, in my teenage years, my father, he used to tell me about, the different dynamics of each side of my families. Now, see, my father's from a third world country. My mother's from rural South Mississippi Valley area. So, in those cultures, there are some similarities. There are some layovers, but there are very different dynamics in the manner in which each culture approaches certain variants that come into play. And he used to tell me how, he broke it down to me and told me, how my mother's side of the family operates, as juxtaposed to how his family structure, where he came from, operates. Now, my mother is the third of 15. Yeah, you heard that right, 15. My grandmother had 9 daughters and 6 sons. So when people like C Boogie talk about the matriarchal psychosis, listen, what Beyonce say? I'm a survivor. I seen that shit firsthand. I'm not talking in third party, none of that shit. I come from a big family on my mother's side, on really both sides, because my grandma on my pop's side, she pushed out 7. That ain't nothing to sneeze at either. But on my mom's side, my grandma pushed out 15 with 9 girls. And my mother is very alpha too. She's very alpha. Like I get a lot of my bossy traits and my take charge traits from my mom. Like my pops is like, he has a quiet, silent strength about him. Rest in peace to my pops. But he has a silent, quiet strength about him that he doesn't have to say much, for you to get the message. But my mother's like on some rah-rah shit. You know what I'm saying? It's to the point where we be at family gatherings down south. We don't have family reunions. Like every 4 years we have family, like some families that have family reunions like every 4 years. No, we don't do that shit. We have family gatherings several times a year because our family's so big and we spread out across the nation so wide that we have to have several family gatherings in several locations. So, those who can meet up at these various gatherings can, converse and, come together and whatnot. Like we'll have one, the main one is down south in the summertime. Another big one is in Kansas City, late summer going into the fall. And another one is in the springtime up in Chicago. And then another one is around late fall going into winter. I'm not going to lay out these holidays because I don't want motherfuckers trying to, do this, that, and the third, trying to figure out some shit, but you feel me? But back down south in the late fall going into the winter. and it's around, certain holidays or whatever. But we have big family gatherings, and at these family gatherings, growing up, and in my own city, my various interactions with certain family members, it goes from the top down. My grandma is the queen bee. To put it in Alien versus Predator metaphor, she's the queen Zenimorph. That's giving birth to all these other xenomorphs that go around, implanting chest bursters in their victims. I hate to say that, about, because I love her, what I'm saying? But from a metaphorical standpoint, to give an analogy of my family dynamic as it pertains on my mom's side, that's the best metaphor I can come up with. But yeah, and if you met my grandma, she's so soft spoken and quiet. Like she's damn near in her 90s now, 80s, 90s, 70s, 80s, 90s. She's up there now, but she's so calm and demure now. You wouldn't even expect that she had a ruthless side to her. But like I was saying, in comparison to the family structure and dynamic and the cultural interactions between male and female on my father's side, juxtaposed to my mother's side, the differences are striking. They're striking. Like I said prior, the females on my father's side, they'll know when they come up on that line, and they'll know not to cross that line. But on my mother's side, I've thought about this. I've given it some thought. I can't say for sure if they know what or where that line is, or if they are in full knowledge of what the line is, but they have so much liberty in the confines of this structure that they say, fuck it, nigga, I'm gonna cross the line any motherfucking way. Shit, fuck it, nigga, what you gonna do about it? What you gonna say about it, huh? Yeah, I know the line is there, and I'm gonna cross that motherfucker anyway. So I don't know. But I don't know if they know or if they don't know where that line is. But the main point I'm trying to drive home in this vid is they cross that line, as opposed to on my father's side, the females don't cross that line. They know where that line is. They're gonna give you some pushback and let you know, hey, you fucking up. You fucking up. But I ain't gonna cross that line though. But on my mom's side, whether you fucking up or you not fucking up, they gonna cross that line. They gonna cross that line. And it can go into some deep waters. You know what I mean? The shit can get out of hand. Because on my mom's side, even if you not in the wrong, but you just kind of bucking the proverbial system that's at play, they gonna give you some pushback. Not only are they gonna give you some pushback, but some lines will be crossed, and you almost have to, and I hate to say this, but you almost have to resort to or threaten violence to, hey, get these motherfuckers up off of you. Like, hey, I gotta goddamn threaten violence or damn near resort to violence to let you motherfuckers know, hey, you crossing the line. You are impeding on my personal circumference of natural, as Kitty Gackade Jones says, natural liberty, law and liberty. Like you're infringing upon my bubble, and I damn near have to goddamn resort to violence or threats of violence to get your motherfucking ass to back off. But that's just the family dynamic on my mother's side. Like I'll give you an instance. I'll give you an example. The main family gathering on my mother's side, down south, in the summertime, I'm talking about blazing sun, mosquitoes, you name it, barbecue, fucking moonshine, you name it. We down there, we got a whole bunch of tables and chairs set up under the willow tree. And this one year in particular, I'm playing a spades game. I forgot who was my partner, but shout out to my cuz, man, who's my for real spades partner at these family gatherings. We be putting motherfuckers to the sword, man. On some real shit. I'm talking about slapping cars, talking shit, all that, man. Shout out to my cuz, man. If you ever come across this video and you recognize who this is talking, I'm talking about you. But anyway, shit though, it's me and another family member of mine. We on teams, and we going up against my mom and my auntie. Now, if you're familiar with spades, there's a lot of underbidding that goes on. Like a motherfucker will try to. It's akin to baseball when a pitcher will purposely throw, like 2 balls or whatever. Like he'll throw some shit that's not in the strike zone. He knows he's throwing some shit that's not gonna land in the strike zone, but he wants you to swing at that shit so you can miss, so you can get down and count. You know what I mean? Same thing in spades, where a motherfucker will have a better hand and they'll underbid so that you can swing at that shit. And the way the card's gonna fall, you're not gonna hit, so you're gonna get down and count. You know what I mean? So that's what my mom was doing, and as my mom gotten older, she's got less boisterous. She's gotten less boisterous and whatnot, and less flamboyant. Like back in the day, my mom pull up to the spot, a little side note, an older cousin of mine was like, uh-oh, here comes Auntie such and such. You know what I'm saying? Because, hey, when she pulled up on the scene, man, she pointing and giving orders. You, put them down. You, don't do her. Don't do that to her. You, stop running. You, slow down. You, get the running. You know what I'm saying? You, take that right there and bring it over here. Like, you know what I mean? Like she was coming on the scene calling shots. But as she's gotten, older and whatnot, she's kind of dialed it back. She's gotten more tactful in her personal agenda. But in any event, so she's playing this, she's trying to get me down in the count. She's trying to get me and my teammates down in the count, and she's underbidding. Now, if you know anything about spades, they got something called sandbags. If you play sandbags, if a motherfucker, that's the checks and balances of someone who's underbidding. Like if you underbidding and you playing sandbags, that can eventually hurt you in the long run, because you can lose major points if you accumulate too many sandbags, which are books that you didn't bid. If you bid 4 books and you end up getting 7, then shit, you just got 3 sandbags. Now if you get 10 sandbags, you're gonna lose 100 points. But if you underbid, excuse me, and you get your opponents to overbid and they don't reach their mark, you can set them, which will set them back. So you can play that sandbag game for a couple hands get your opponent down 200 or 300 points, and if you get 10 sandbags and you lose 100 points, you still up 100, 200 points. So you still got room to breathe. So that's the strategy that she was implementing in this specific game. And I myself, being I believe I was in my mid, maybe probably solidly my mid 20s, 24, 25, 26, whatever, around that time. I was noticing what she was doing, but I couldn't articulate and express myself in a more regal and demure manner. So I was like, man, Mons, you cheating, Ma. You sandbagging and carrying on and this, that, and the third, you cheating. You ain't bidding that. You ain't bidding right. And she just playing it off cool, Chuckless cheesing because she whooping her son ass in the game of spades. Like she's loving this shit, man. But my auntie, who was her teammate, didn't take too kindly to me insinuating that my mother was lying about her bids. So she says to me, don't call your mama a liar. And the situation from there kind of got heated. And it kind of got heated to the point where it quelled. That particular interaction quelled down some, but it was heated to the point where later on that day, I believe, or it might have been the next day, I was playing dominoes or spades or something with my auntie's son, who's probably a year or so younger than me, and his the manner in which he was coming at me and interacting with me during this, I believe it was a dominoes game or a spades, the way he was interacting with me, like he was carrying on the marching orders of his mother. His mother didn't like the way that I called her sister out on some of her chicanery and some of her underhanded, nefarious practices in the game. So on a subconscious level, she gave her son marching orders, and her son was, bringing out those marching orders. And it got to the point where during the course of this game, he was coming at me sideways. So I started coming at him sideways, like, knocking his dominoes off the table and shit. Like, he'll throw his domino down and I knock that shit off the table. Like, nigga, what's happening? We out here in the country. The police ain't gonna get here in time. We can go like down the street on these rock roads and get to throwing hands. Like, if you really want to take it there, we can get with the shit. We can get this shit cracking. So he's doing some slick shit, going off the marching orders of his auntie on a subconscious level, and I'm bucking back like, nigga, this shit can get violent real quick. If you want to take it there, we can take it there. So I'm throwing, I'm pushing fucking dominoes, his domino off the table and shit. Like, he'll throw that motherfucker down and I'll push that motherfucker off the table and he gotta pick that shit up. And he like, man, being tripping, man. I'm gonna have to get with this nigga, man. I'm gonna slap this nigga across the face with this beer bottle. I said, all right, okay. Then I had to let him know in no uncertain terms, hey, if we take it there, I ain't gonna show you no mercy. You gonna get beat badly, and I'm gonna do you real bad, to where the shit, that second encounter swelled up to a point where other family members had to get involved and break the shit up. You know what I mean? Because the shit was gonna go left, it was gonna go left real bad. And as far as C Boogie's theory about the matriarchal psychosis, in retrospect, when I think about it, and the family dynamic in which my cousin, I love him, I still love you, cuz if you come across this video and you know who I'm, and that I'm talking about you, I still love you. You feel me? But yeah, this is for my guys, man, on some educational shit. But in retrospect, when I thought about the family dynamic in which he grew up in the larger family dynamic that him and I grew up in was strongly matriarchal. See, he comes from a family where he was in some case adjacent to his father for reasons that I can't speak on because I just don't know. But he's the oldest of three, and he has two younger sisters. So he was essentially raised by his single parent mother, and he has two younger sisters. Now I lived down there for a while, probably about 2 years in my teenage years, and we all spent the summer at my grandmother's house. Him, both of his sisters, and two other of my female cousins. We all spent the entire summer at my grandmother's house in rural South. I'm talking about rock rolls and mosquitoes. You feel me? And I would go off by myself, or I would try to rock with him, to pass the time during the day, or I'd wait for one of my uncles to pull up so I can kick it with the men and shit. But I noticed that he was too familiar with the everyday goings on that the females engaged in. And I say that he was playing what's that hand clapping game, where you clap your hands and you recite shit at the same time. Like, he knew that shit. Like, he was doing that shit with them motherfuckers. Miss Mary Mac, all you get what I'm saying? So me, for my time of birth until I was about 12 or 13, I grew up in a house with nothing but brothers and two parents, and my father was the leader of said household. So I got my base foundational cues from that dynamic. But in retrospect, when I examined why he got on the shit that he was on when we almost came to blows, I had to think deeper and be like, oh, because of the dynamic that he grew up in. He was the only boy or the only male in a household full of women. So he was essentially, a lesser drone Zenimorph who was operating off the marching orders of a lesser queen, who, and this queen being his mother, answered to the bigger queen, which is my grandmother. And I see this shit trickle down from grandmother all the way down to great grandchildren, the great granddaughters and whatnot. They all know, like these kids, 9, 10 years old, they know what the fucking deal is. They know how they fit. They know their place in this matriarchal structure that we live under, as far as the quote unquote African American is concerned. They all know that shit. I go to these family gatherings and shit. I walk on my grandma's yard and shit, and I see all the kids out there playing, and I'm watching the dynamic between the young boys and the young girls. And the young girls know, hey, nigga, I'm a lieutenant, you just a sergeant. You feel me? But yeah, that's the difference between the cultural dynamic of the quote unquote African American matriarchal structure and the patriarchal structure of the Caribbean, Central, and South American culture. And I just find it fascinating, you know. But yeah, brothers, this for my SYSBM brothers, man, who trying to get them passports stamped, trying to go down south, and I'm talking about way down south to get their trim or get their princess or their queen or whatnot. Don't you get like Nagone says, you got to get your mind right first. Get your mind right because some of your operating procedures that you go by here ain't gonna fly there. Now, if you on your game and you're familiar with how shit goes down there, you listen, you good as gold. But if you show yourself as to be one of these over effeminate, over emotional, let's just say it, niggas from the mainland, from how they say from foreign, then you know you gonna get that silent killer. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, don't go down there thinking you're gonna get you a doormat, because they will push back. They will push back on shit they don't like. But when you recognize that they pushing back, you gotta, in no uncertain terms, give silent cues to let them know, hey, I see you. All right? Now let's come to a civil solution behind this. But hey, though, that's all I gotta say on this one, man. It's Benjamin D'Souza. Like, share, and subscribe.